You probably know how much I love a clean and well-organized shop. Everything's swept. Well, today we're throwing all of that out the window. It starts with this. I built a wire foam cutting machine. Nicked our dirty chromium fancy wire here. Run into some power supply. There's adjustable. Got some 220 plug there. Looks a nice, safe looking machine, right? But we're making a mess. A horrible mess. It's staticky. It's this pinkish purple color. I have nightmares about cleaning up messes like this. And you can probably still see some metal chips. My wife did a wonderful job last night cleaning up after a big aluminum cut. But go in there. Okay, so I have been using these curtains differently. I've been putting one more across the front just to keep stuff from flying and keeping this one over. I'm thinking about taking this one down, cutting it in half, sewing some nice edges and adding more Velcro so I can actually have one for the front and two pieces for each side. So you can open the sides and then open the front. I don't know, just something I've kind of thought through. This is cutting the air pass. Got a little bit of air there. Let's take a look at this mess. Looks worse than it feels. We are undercutting by 10,000 of an inch, so I'm leaving 20 thousandths right now, but the finishing pass is still going to leave 10. This is going to be a mold for a front end. Here, I'll show you. It's an AI created image of my wife and her ducks. It's my new favorite background. Anyway, it's adorable. Looks just like her. I hate this. Does anyone know how to fix this? Server verification warning. I get it all the time. My friends in IT have been like, just live with it. It's annoying though. Oh. Out of memory. Fusion is not running very well tonight. It got an update. And so this is what we're cutting. And I'm just going to talk over the air compressor for a change. So we're taking this pass 3 inches down, and then we're going to work on this tilted plane. This is the mold for the front. For the top, it replaces this piece in the mold. We're going to do these as two separate fiberglass pieces, and I'll just bond them together correctly on the car. Let's see. Oh, trying to control the mouse and the... So we designed this front end. We did zebra analysis, everything to make sure the lines flow good. You can see all the capped off holes here. So we're gonna fiberglass. We're cutting the negative of this into foam. I have a backdraft cobra with a front end smash, and the guy wanted to add more vents and fog lights and extend the front end down lower, but he didn't want to look like an actual real splitter. So I kind of designed it and just kept sending him photos over the course of like a week, and he'd say, oh, I want this flatter, this there, you know. So he designed it. You know how that goes. So we this is gonna be the... Let's try to find my body over here. There we go. Turn this one back off. And of course, so this is cutting it out like this, and then I've added this little block to kind of fill it in. So the block is actually replaced by this. So this way we're gonna cut all this nice. This will create that upward scoop. I think a lot of Cobras are doing this now, where they get like a top scoop, kind of like a Group C car. It's gonna add keep air that doesn't go through the radiator, give it a way to escape out the top of the car. Kind of turn this front section into like a spoiler of sorts. I don't think we have a big enough splitter to really take advantage of that. And I don't know what these ducts are going to go to. I think they're just for looks. I got some nice fog lights I'm going to put in this hole. These holes, I'm not sure what they really were for the original Cobra. They're next to little lift points and toe points. We're going to be machining lift points, the lift points and toe points off the old speed jack style. I'm going to machine those out and build it. And I'm actually going to try and make them tough enough to actually use. Unlike most kit cars, where it's just like a threaded bolt through a piece of aluminum and like a nice bracket. You know. So we'll check back on the machine. This is horrible. Look at this mess. And it's staticky. And it sticks to things. My wife hasn't come down to see this yet, but I know what her reaction is going to be. Oh boy. I get to vacuum this. There's some nice riser blocks I made for a project recently. You guys see a short video on that. I need to find a spot, make a spot for them. Oh, make a little cubby holes here. There's nothing that really goes here on this side. I can make like a little lockbox, keep specific tooling for it. I did buy another hold down set. I kind of want to take another 80-20 piece and make another supported bar here. I have some 80-20. I try to give all that stuff away when I have it, but this machine, because it has these 80-20 support pieces, I've kind of saved a lot of my 80-20. I figure I can make something useful out of these side pieces, make them hold stuff. Like, I was glad I had the little togs to do that. I keep buying more of this yellow filler material because like it came with some. The company even sent me more, but I still don't have enough to fully fill every edge. So next for car order, I'll add more of it. That is, I wonder if I'm using a high number of flute here because I think I have never cut this foam before, but I was afraid of it like tearing and shredding. And I think if we look at these chips, it looks like it's still doing like what I was afraid it would do. Look at the edge of this. Yeah, side finish isn't great, but thankfully most of this is finishing with the ball nose. There's no flat areas in this mold. This is that top piece. The only thing holding it down is vacuum suction, which you can hear the vacuum pump over there running. So I have my vacuum pump plumbed up and over. I'm actually going to modify that box. I'm going to cut it up, put a larger valve on it, make a better system, because it goes through this 2-inch section. It's like a bottleneck. I want to build a box on the back of this machine. I want to build like a containment system that comes back here, catches everything. I'll be able to have removable panels that have like pans to catch all the dust and make it easier to clean out. This is the bottleneck, this 2-inch opening. I want to build a new box with the opening over here, so I can have the plumbing come over, and up to here. I still like where my bracket on this is. It's super easy to clean out. You know, my foam block is slightly oversized. The program's set to cut the middle. I can razor blade off the flashing. It's not metal, so we just want to make sure we have enough material. This is why I have a 5-axis though. This is really important because this is 3-inch tool holder, right? Or 3-inch projection on the tool. And you see how I would have so much more tool, like wobbling deflection as it spins. I did some foam molds in my VF4 years ago when I first bought it, and I bought some 12-inch long, half-inch ball nose end mills that were like roughing cut on the side. I thought I could kind of like spiral down, rough cut, and then finish all with one tool. And the second I put it in, I saw my spindle load jump up to like 20% just free spinning it, and I realized that wasn't going to work. So I ended up using like, I did the mold in multiple pieces and glued it together, so I kind of did each face. This nice thing on this machine is I can, like the first operation we saw is cutting straight in 3 inches here, and then we're going to come back and we're going to cut with it literally at a less than 45-degree plane, but it'll allow the head of this to get out of the way, because this piece will spin, this piece will tilt, and it'll allow me to get access with the 3-inch tool with what I would normally need a longer tool. So that'll help with finishing and everything. So I'm excited to see how this handles. Good thing is this foam is cheap, so we can try again if need be. If you got any tips with this foam, let me know. Probably by the time I post this, we'll probably have it figured out though. So, I don't know, shop's looking kind of good right now. I love this time of year, like first of winter, when it's still not like so barely cold in the shop that you are miserable, but it's still just cool enough that you have the door down. You're not tracking as much dirt in. It's easier to keep clean. You don't have all that summer dust floating around from, you know, we didn't have a lot of rain this year, so we had a lot of dust. Our cars just didn't have a chance to stay clean in the parking lot from all the highway traffic, so, you know. We'll check back up on this in a little bit. Alright. First operation finished, that top cut. That looks pretty nice, got some nice curvature to it. Ball nose will clean that up super nice. We're going to keep roughing at that angle that I specified in the drawing. Look at all that paint done. Oh, looks like it's going to do some air cutting. Fusion's having a hard time producing this, so yeah. It was just, it couldn't load it with the air cutting stuff click. It's bizarre. I don't know. Sometimes update the Fusion 360 updates and it just kind of puts you out of everything. God, what a mess. It's on me. Oh well, we'll check back in like 5 minutes and actually start cutting it. We started the second tool path. Fusion tonight just could not work with rest machining, so it's just going to be cutting air for, who knows why. It was an update. We're going to do this. 3D scan. Nigel Thornberry, he just looks so excited about what you're working on. HD mode turned on, of course. Our ScanTech spray. This stuff is fantastic. Making a filler panel. I should put a link to my buddy's YouTube channel that he does, that this stuff is for. He makes cool chairs, and I'll 3D scan and make some brackets and stuff for him. But what I'm going to do right here is I'm scanning this, and I'm going to make a filler panel with those screw holes. I'm going to load that in the computer. I'm going to make a filler panel with these screw holes that will screw into this and snap into this, but it won't have any of these controls. He's going to have his own custom switches there. He takes really nice car seats and makes them into office chairs. It's pretty cool. So I think this is off of BMW. So Oh yeah, it's got the forward and back. Hey, look what's cutting now. Cut off some extra flashing. So I use this foam glue, specially made for this stuff. It's called Loctite. I have some of it over here. Loctite PL300. It took 3 of these tubes to glue up those pieces. So I'm going to have to buy more before I do the big mold. But worked really well. The only complaint I have is I did let it dry for 5 days or whatever since I cut this. And when it's milling, you can probably see, walk back in here again, it's still kind of soft, like, you can see it. Focus, there you go. Does a great job of holding it together, but you smell it again too. Again, sorry for the air cutting. Rest machining just wouldn't load tonight for some reason. It was just giving me errors. Risky. You can see some of the cut quality here. It's not great when working around thin stuff. I mean, it's a foam, but you can look at it. Not that bad on this. Floor cutting. So we'll see how that comes out. We're going to use this with an epoxy resin. It's where I usually keep a lot of my resins and stuff. Total Boat epoxy resin. So, got the hardener. My liquids there. Cool. We'll check back in a little while. Okay, updated, 30 minutes later. It's cutting slow, whatever, So I have the mold now roughed in. This is Adaptive Strategies. I'm not going to touch it or anything because I'm holding it down by vacuum. I don't want it to move. I'm letting the chips around it help hold it in place while I can have it off for a minute, let the vacuum pump cool down. One thing that we're going to do with this cylinder head, this head on this, is we're going to give it a 1 degree pitch this way, so that way where it says B axis, the heel of the we've been calling it the heel, so it's the heel of the 5-axis head will actually rotate this way and it'll tilt the tool 1 degree. That will still allow it to get into there where it needs to, but that'll get it sideways and out of the way, so you don't have to worry about the heel of that hitting this while we are machining lower down. So we'll follow up with that in a minute, but just so you can see what we understand, I put I got new office chair wheels coming in the mail because they broke. It's the worst sound in the world. So got this little plane at 1 degree, and you can see our steep and shallow pass. A lot of retracts. I mean, I should make it cut both ways, but this will be fine. It's going to be about an hour and 15 minutes to give it a 30 thou step over pass. This is not a very fast machine, but it does the job I want real well. If you ever want the air compressor to turn on, start filming. We'll touch base in a minute. Alright, so quick update. You can see why we turned the tilt plane at 1 degree, because otherwise the heel would be hitting the foam and we still have further down to go. But there you go. Looking pretty good surface finish wise. You do see some of this blue seam. I like that glue, that foam glue, first time using it, because it's not dry, or it's not so wet in the middle like when you use wood glue or Elmer's or something like that, because the foam never lets air get to it to dry. And you'll sometimes have like that middle section will just like slide off because there's no air to it. But I like the foam. The bad part is this does have some voids. This is a one-time use mold, so this will be fine. It's not like we're running production on it. If we ran production, we would cut this out of aluminum. So this is the hood scoop piece that's going to be in that over the grill opening, and then this piece that we're going to form in here is actually going to lay in the other mold, because the other mold will not have this feature. It'll be smooth. So when the other mold is cut, this can lay in, get fiberglassed in with the rest of the nose, but it can have these features that don't have the possible draft angle, because the other mold is this way, that end down. So we wouldn't be able to have that. It would be an interlock feature. I mean, that we wouldn't be able to get to even cut it, even with a 5-axis head, because the way the geometry is on that. But shows why I'm doing it this way. This piece will lay in the other mold. So when I lay the fiberglass out here, I'll like stagger it in layers. So we'll have the main thickness around there. We'll do a couple other layers. We're only going to lay this up thick enough to be rigid enough to hold its shape. It's going to be all epoxy, because polyester would eat this stuff, but the epoxy resin is safe on it. So I'm pretty happy with the way we're kind of doing this and the way we thought out of doing it. So I'll update you guys again when this piece is finished cutting. It's 42 minutes into the surface cut, and I think it's an hour and 5 minutes or whatever. So I only got the little bottom area to finish up, but I wanted you to see why the heel matters, because we're still there. But if you look at how much further we have to go down there, that heel would have definitely been hitting the top of the mold. But cool. We'll update in a minute. Okay, the part's finished. We're vacuuming it off before we turn off the suction table so these little coins don't get sucked up. But it looks pretty good. See some of those voids I was talking about? The surface finish feels better than it looks. Tomorrow we're going to cut and glue foam. We're going to lace up some stuff on this, and then probably Monday or Tuesday we're going to cut the next foam piece whenever the glue's cured. Put this to sleep. I've heard of pink eye. What do you call if your whole head is pink? Cool. We'll touch base tomorrow. Alright, so we're gluing up the second block. You see our first foam mold over there. We're going to lay that up shortly. I wanted to go ahead and get this gluing so this can be drying and curing. I guess it would be drying, not curing, because it's a one-part component, which is surprising, because I'll tell you something about foam. I bought this over a week ago, and the first couple sheets I threw in, it was or I think the last sheet I threw in got sprinkled on, so there was some water on it. There is still water on this. It was laid up between two other sheets. If you get moisture between this stuff, it does not dry. I think that's why Elmer's glue, wood glue, and things like that do not work very well with this, because it just, you know. So we're gonna cut this. I got some extra scrap pieces, so. If I screw this up, because I'm trying to do it one-handed. Best thing is, this is a one-time use mold, so as long as we have enough material to reach all the features, we are okay. Outside pretty edges don't matter. It's just gonna get used once, broken apart when we take the part off. Ooh. But disadvantage doing it one-handed. It's okay, I'll put that side to the outside. Anyway, so when you glue these together, you want to obviously glue. I don't need a full layer across this top because this is going to be cut at an angle for clearance for the head as it mills down. So, there we go. So you always glue straight edge to straight edge. Yeah. This looks bad, but you'll see. It goes pretty good and quick. So show off our surface finish here. Looks like we got a little nick there. Did that with a vacuum. But feels pretty good. We're going to do some epoxy on this here soon, so you'll see what it actually looks like. This is, again, not great for multiple use molds, but for what we're doing, it's going to be perfect. So we'll follow up in a minute. Actually, let me rotate this because I don't like that angle. Doing everything one-handed, right? Okay. We're gluing down the 2 layers now. I'm only gluing them 3 layers high, and then I'm going to let them cure for a while. I went 5 layers on the other mold. Kind of remembering where detail is to make sure I have enough glue in those spots. On a mold like this, it's 1 tube of PL 300 per layer. And yes, I did put a vertical bit between those 2 horizontal pieces. Throw some extra down. Yeah, 1 whole tube. So here's Shelly, and we're putting down roughly 2 layers. There's overlapping, so we're calling it 2.5 layers. There'll be very few spots that actually only have 2 layers, but let me take this real quick. Put down some resin to stick the material down in the corners in the tight spot. Lay down a sheet of material, and then it's just dab, dab, dab. I have rollers, but since we're not doing a peel ply on this, they aren't going to be a benefit. You can see the glue joints a little bit in the lines, but we'll be top coating this anyway. So, nice several layers. And then this piece will lay in the other mold. And after the other mold's first layer will overlap with this, and then we'll back layer it all with fiberglass mat. So it's all one piece nose. But this will have the this feature, this little vent feature that could not be part of the other nose, because the other nose is coming out this way, and this would be a locking in feature. So cool. You like putting down resin on carbon fiber?
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Done enough of it. It's epoxy resin, so it doesn't eat the foam. And we'll let this dry, and tomorrow we'll pop it off. So we'll update you shortly. Update time. It's been 24 hours since, well, longer than that since we laid this up. I'm pouring lacquer thinner along the seams to eat the foam away. Now this is going to eat away a little bit of the resin on top, but it's fine because it's going to soften it and allow it to bond with the other resin for the when we lay this in the other piece as well. But we have enough layers there. You see it looks pretty good. You can see the texture actually of the where the foam was. So another explanation, not sure if I've explained this yet, but this is all curved and this is going to be cut off as a vent. So why did we curve it? Well, as you can see, composites don't like to make 90-degree angles. Oh, look at that, it's really coming loose now. So you can see why we're not going to leave this just carbon fiber. It's a little bit flexible even in 3 layers. Well, 2.5 I guess, because overlapping. But we left these radiuses so that way the carbon fiber or the composite materials could lay very smoothly over that. This is the bottom side. We're going to be roughing this up to do the additional layers with the fiberglass mat. But look at that, you can see down in there where it's eating. Look, you can see down here where it's running out. So we just get underneath it a little bit. It's all resin. Also, I realized today I've been filming this entire thing in vertical. And the reason why was I originally was just going to make a quick short of the first thing I filmed. I thought, oh, no, this is kind of too cool a project, so I just kept filming. And then I realized, crap, I filmed it all in vertical. So let's just say we did that as an artistic decision for, look at that down there. We're just going to say we made that for an artistic decision. Anyway, I need to get more lacquer thinner. A little bit goes a long way. This was only a few ounces. So I have some, it'll dissolve the whole thing. We'll just these plastic pieces away. These are originally were Tattooist bottles. They have a little spout. They're super, I've had this thing probably 10 years. The spout was made of a different plastic. It was eaten away by the lacquer thinner after about 5 years. But I have one for the top shop, one for the bottom shop. You can put a piece of tape over the top and it stores all summer long, and it's pretty convenient. So I'll keep pouring lacquer thinner on this, and I'll show you the part when we get it out. Obviously, the mold is not reusable because we're actually eating it away. But that's fine. One thing I did notice is look at how the ink lines on the. I like to put some lacquer thinner on just one of the scrap pieces that has some of the little flirty Pink Panther guy and see what it happens around those ink lines. That may actually look pretty cool. Who knows? We'll keep testing, playing with it, and there you go, it's eating away. Probably heat would help, but despite being in South Carolina, it is cold here. So we'll update you shortly. Update here. I've got the part out of the mold. You can see here the resin really did bond pretty deeper than I thought it would into the foam. So we're going to hand sand that off. But it does kind of give a nice thickness of resin before we get into the fiber. So obviously we'll be sanding this down, getting this down to a good substrate. Then we're going to slick sand the front end, I guess. And then do all of our body work on top of like an epoxy. Oh, you guys haven't seen the car yet. So this is the car. Smashed in the front. It hit a deer. There's some hair of the deer still in there. But all jammed in the fibers. We have a busted fender we're just going to repair. We have the front end. So this, if you line it up with the nose, actually it looks pretty good. So you can see how far back we're going to be cutting, why the mold's coming as far as it is. That's going to actually really nice because it's going to allow me to get, by cutting this top part for the back, it's going to allow me to get into the radiator and replace some of that fiberglass in there. I'm probably going to cut it down to just be a support for the front end. And I'm going to make an aluminum radiator mount because I don't want to make a bunch more molds in there. It would just make this project cost so much more than it already is going to. So, yeah. Does have Stereolux wheels, pretty nice. All in all, it's a pretty good looking car, magnesium wheels and all. See all the spider cracking in the hood, or the body in front of the hood. So now this will lay in the mold and we'll make the whole new front end. So we'll be cutting across here to the wheel well opening. We'll be repairing some of the cracks, like up here. This is entirely free, as you can see. We'll draw a hole at the end, fiberglass from the top and bottom side, taper, make a good repair joint. Then we're gonna cut down across this area as well. So it'll be entirely new nose. We won't have to worry about any air gaps or fractures or anything being covered, because everything that is really destroyed the front, with the exception of that crack in the fender, will be entirely cut out. So, pretty cool. The car's up here under the carport, so it doesn't get as messy as being in the actual shop. So, yeah, that looks pretty good. It's gonna have that little vent like everybody kind of wants nowadays. Who wants to add aerodynamics to these cars? I see the point. Any air that gets backed up in front of the radiator can get pulled out the top. Kind of like your Group C, I guess. Whatever. Cool. Let's get back to it. Got another update here. We're gonna have to talk over machines running, but so there's lots of little, like some of this glue is like permeated with the resin, and some of it's not, but enough of it is that I was sanding over this and I got it down to a point where I'm going to seal it with more epoxy from this side. So what I'm sealing is all the little bits of foam and stuff that is still stuck to this outer layer of resin. By fully sealing it, I'm taking like the tackiness out of it. I'm making it part of the substrate, so that way it'll actually sand better. This will also make sure everything's fully sealed. A few spots where we had bubbles, like here and here, you can definitely see where you know, I want to make sure I have a good resin base there, so that way I can scuff inside there and fill that with a little bit of putty. Of course, activated putty. Don't ever use that red lacquer stuff. It shrinks. That machine's running. All in all, I'm happy with how this came out. It'll be more block sanding work than if I'd used like an aluminum mold, but the time to block sand that is so much cheaper than the cost of machining that mold out of aluminum for a one-off project like this. I'm pretty happy with it. So, all the little bits of pink you see are bits of foam. Now, if you're worried about us sealing this in, you know what a soffit material is. It's basically like thin foam sheets that you apply in your layers of your composite material. So it's almost like we're making a soffit material out of the little bits still stuck into this. But you see it. You see the general shape. That should block sand out really nicely. Even thought about using some micro balloons on this, but we're not that concerned about weight. It's a car, not an aircraft part. So if this was an aircraft part, we would definitely use micro balloons. So instead we're going to use body filler, putty, dolphin putty. Made with real dolphins. That's a joke. Forgot when my friend said that, but ever since they said that, I've always said it. I think it was Josh. Pretty funny. I love this kind of like swoop curve. I modeled all this in Fusion, and it was T-spline, so it's kind of funny. I actually can still kind of tell where my T-spline points were just from knowing that program so well and having surface modeled so many things in that program. It's the greatest. Cool. We'll touch base again later. We're going to be cutting that foam probably in 2 days. Going to try to see if I can get this glue to dry more. I got a few pieces I've set aside for some destructive testing. Some of the pieces that were left over from this mold. And so we're doing some testing with that glue just to figure out how to use it better. I've done things like this hundreds of times. I've hand-shaped aluminum molds. We've machined aluminum molds. We've used the specific heavy 40-pound foams, 16-pound foam, 8-pound foams. And it's always just so expensive. It's never like, let's make a body kit. Cool. I would like to get to the point where the designing is the hard part of making not the cost of the mold material. So that's why we're trying out this pink foam. That's why I'm documenting it. That's why I'm asking, hey, if you do this, if you work with this, tell me what you think. That's going to look really good on the car. This, of course, is epoxy resin. We're only using epoxy on this job because of dealing with the foam. The polyester stuff would eat the pink foam. So, cool. We'll update again soon. No time like the present to start filming in horizontal. Sorry for the guys watching the video. But this is the second mold. This is for the main part of the front of the car. You can see some of the features coming in. You know. There we go. I am using my new clamps I machined to hold it against the block. So you can see a block back there as well. So that way don't have to run the whole thing in one go. I can turn the vacuum off tonight and keep roughing the part tomorrow. This is going to take a while. This is a huge mold. It'll look pretty good. Cool. I'll update you probably tomorrow when this finishes roughing. Part 2 here. This is the big mold. We know it's going to take several days, so I'm using those new blocks I made. I have blocks behind it. I have blocks on this side. So even when the vacuum's off, it's held in place enough that when the vacuum goes back on, it will not, move. So what we're doing right now is some adaptive strategy. We're clearing over. That's a huge end mill, but I'll tell you what, this machine's pretty good at this. I did not expect this. I bought this end mill years ago to do a project like this, and I put it in the Haas, and it like spindle load went through the roof. This HSK holder spins this so nice. I never had the chance to kind of compare HSK to Cat 40 before. That's a 10-inch holder, I think, 8.5-inch stick out, and it's reaching great. This is going to allow me to go all the way down without having to worry about this heel of the machine hitting the foam. Originally, I was going to do one of those strategies where I rotate it, and I was going to rotate it, and I was going to make sure that like the heel was going to be here, the heel was going to be there. But I thought, that's going to take a while to machine. It's going to add a lot of complexity. It's going to add a lot of side load. And this is being held down by vacuum. And just through the size of it, and then I knew this was going to take multiple days to cut and finish. Mainly because I want the back end to cool down. I want things to be cool. So I thought, let's just try it with 3-axis. And I put this in, like, I took it down 4.5 inches with the regular holders. I do have a couple things I need to glue, like right there, kind of start to lift, but that's just from that glue. This glue I left a week now, and you can see it never really dried. I tried some different strategies here of cutting the outside like a contour and then roughing the middle and seeing what would break out. It was a little faster, but the chance of that bouncing around and damaging part of the mold wasn't really worth the time advantage for me. So I'm just going to do it this way. I'm taking 250 thousandth step over. I'm machining it. Like, that's a huge step over, but this is foam. And I'm taking 1 inch down at a time just because I want... If I was to do this again, I would probably do like 1.1 inches or something to make sure that I'm not... Because as you see, every other pass, I'm kind of like fighting right where the glue is. And it hasn't caused any issues yet, other than that one spot. But... like here, it just kind of broke a piece out, you know. This foam glue is great if you're gluing this foam to a garage door or something. I cannot recommend it enough. It holds amazingly well. I think we need to figure out a way to get air in between the layers of big blocks like this, because this layer was a lot wetter on the inside than that smaller block was. So in the past I've used wood glue and elmer's glue, and those never really dry. So this dries better, but I think we're gonna maybe look at like a 2-part, like an epoxy base or something like that. I don't know, if you know something, you want to recommend something, I'll definitely follow your recommendations, but try that on the next thing. But you can really start to see the brake duct venting, the fog light hole, the extra holes, the main opening. It looks pretty nice. So I can't wait to see what this looks like cut out. We're gonna go hold it up to the front of the car to make sure it's the right size before we start laying up carbon fiber in it. But then we're gonna rock and roll with it. It's gonna be awesome. So we'll update you guys soon. Probably gonna be another day or so because of finishing and everything else, and honestly just cleaning up this mess. It's a hell of a mess. So cool. Just want to give an update on block number 2. Check it out, guys. It is the second mold. Giving the finishing cuts. Doing 40,000 steps down. We're traveling at 300 inches a minute. I found out it gives a good surface finish over the glue section. See some carrying back there I was dealing with, but that actually doesn't matter. That's where the other piece that we have is going to lay in. Then we're going to carbon fiber it all in. Then we'll cut all the foam away and end up with a nice new nose with all the fog light holes, side vent hole, new lower oil cooler holes, and the top hood vent. So yeah, pretty cool. Taking a while. It's a pink and fuzzy machine. The guy that set this machine up said he did one time, either he quoted or he had set up or installed or worked on a guy that had a pink DMS and a blue DMS. So it was like his and hers. It's kind of funny. That stuck with me. Well, I got a pink and blue. Cool. We'll check back in later. Alright, so it finished. I blew it off. I'm gonna let it dry overnight. The reason why I say dry is because there's still some glue. You can see where it tore out some areas and stuff like that. Surprisingly, the carbon fiber will bridge that pretty well. We're gonna be block sanding this thing anyway. It's not a raw carbon fiber part. We don't want that. We just want something rigid. We want something that's going to cure fast, so we don't have shrinks or things like that in the paint work. We can get it to paint faster. Look at these curves. This is nice. This is that front lip detail. Gonna make a nice little plastic spoiler for it. It's good looking holes. that piece lays in, we'll carbon fiber it in. See how this would have geometrically locked, because you can't cut that. I'm sure someone will argue with me and say, oh, I could cut that. And whatever. So, gonna let this dry. So this stuff is still a little gummy hard enough so I can hit it with a little piece of sandpaper. Then we're gonna lay it up. The fuzzies actually have not that big of an issue, because when you lay the carbon, you pat it down with the resin, and then the resin only permeates so far into this foam as you saw in the other piece. So then we'll lay this up with 2 layers of carbon, about 2.5, pop it off, fit it on the car, and we'll put some fiberglass mat behind it as well. Reason why we'll go over later, but also that mat's going to help blend it with the rest of the car. This is actually where we're going to end this video. I'm going to do a part 2 because this is so long, and I really like this kind of long format. I was editing the rest of the clips over there while this was finishing running, and I was like, this is kind of like the stuff I like to watch, where it's just long, explanational, and you feel like you're hanging out in the shop with somebody. So I hope you come back for part 2 and finish hanging out with us as we lay this up, trim it up, pop it out, blend it on the car. We'll see you next time. Bye.